with your own experience. So real quick, I'm going to talk about this is a brief collage of my career. I'm going to talk about the AI and the machine learning lessons, but I'm also going to talk about the security lessons along the way. So something that shaped my experience is I'm very obsessive and I have a disregard for the rules. And that showed up when I went to college. I was living in the snow in the woods. And so 15 below zero Fahrenheit, taking 19 credit hours. I was doing this because I didn't want to pay rent. And this is actually why I learned how to program, because it was before social media. It's 2003. It became national news in the US. And so I was on TV, radio, talk stations, and reporters. And so I had to learn to program because I had to have a blog, which is so funny. So me programming in AI and high performance computing, it all started with HTML and CSS because there was no Facebook, there was no social media at the time. And that developed into PHP, the LAMP stack, Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. And then that developed into computer vision and high performance computing, and now high performance computing with AI. So my programming experience started because of this ridiculous story of me living in the woods. But then I went and graduated from chemical engineering and I worked for Intel and Micron. So there's two parallel tracks I want to talk about now. So one of them is security and one of them is going to be consequence. So when I was working at Intel and Micron, this photo that you see here in the yellow, this was called the $1 billion room. And it was really exciting when I joined. It felt like working for Star Wars. The entire fab is automated, robots above. And at the time, I was dealing with data, everything you can imagine, from robotic process automation, process control, yield analysis, quality analysis, predictive preventable maintenance. So anything related to data and semiconductor, I dealt with it. But at the time, if I made a mistake, it felt like getting your hand slapped. It's not that big of a deal. Even if you do something that might cost the company hundreds of thousands of dollars, you won't be fired unless there's a pattern of that. And so every time I go through one of these experiences, the consequence of failure increases. So I'll finish this thread with AI, and I'm going to come back to security. So then after that, I joined a hedge fund working as a quant. And if you have a model that doesn't work as described, it's the worst day of your life, which I think is pretty funny because everything's relative. So the worst day of your life, it can always be worse. And after the hedge fund, I joined HireVue. So HireVue was an HR tech company. We were predicting video interview outcome, and I was their chief data scientist. And if you build a model that doesn't work, it can be the worst day of someone else's life. You can actually cause a class action lawsuit because there's adverse impact. You can propagate bias with AI. It actually is the default mode if you're not preventing that. And so consequence always increases. And then the final collage is me doing my own startup that I did for 3 years and sold to Data Robot. And if you have a model that doesn't work, you have to fire your friends. And they're both bad, but it's good. You learn lessons along the way. So starting over again, let's talk about security. So when I was at IM Flash, the Intel Micron JV working in semiconductor, a lot of these really expensive tools that were in the fab, these tools could be $100 million for a single tool. They were not appropriately patched for security. So you can think of some of these tools running Windows XP Service Pack 2, and that's fine. It is fine if they're protected inside a firewall. But I remember some security breaches that would happen through a USB. Someone brings a USB within that safety circle and they plug it in. And then you can imagine for a worm or for something, if it has access to hundreds or thousands of computers that are not patched, that is a huge problem. The other security thing that showed up when I was at the hedge fund is our supercomputing cluster. I remember, I don't know how long it was, maybe a week, it was compromised where it would begin, a hacker was able to get access to this massive GPU network and they were mining Bitcoin, which honestly, in the grand scheme of hacks or things that people could do, that's probably the least of your worries. You would be quite blessed to find out that someone's mining Bitcoin on your network and not doing something that's more malicious. So continuing to experience, because I want to get into intelligence. As mentioned, I have worked for two global unicorn platform companies, Data Robot and Dataiku. It was announced last week that I am transitioning out of Dataiku. I am doing another startup in the generative AI space. And I'm also a part-time professor at NYU I teach board members and executives about AI. So now actually getting into the meat of the talk, thank goodness. So intelligence. So intelligence shapes our decisions, but I want to define what is intelligence, because this is going to be a very important foundation block for all of us as we talk about AI. So what is intelligence? Intelligence is defined as the acquisition of knowledge through experience, which gives us the ability to apply that knowledge for future decisions. And so if we take that simple definition, let's apply it to this butterfly. So if I poke this butterfly in the eye, is it going to avoid me tomorrow? Is it going to use that experience, that new knowledge, to make a different decision when it sees me? It's a simple enough life form. There's probably some uncertainty. It'd be interesting to take a poll from the audience. How many of you think that this butterfly will avoid me tomorrow? This would be a terrible study. We could do this to find out, but I would say let's a simple enough life form. Some of us are unsure. But then if we go up the animal kingdom, take something like a dog, for example, if I poke it in the eye, is it going to avoid me tomorrow? Absolutely. A dog and a cat, some of these animals, some of these other mammals are smart enough that potentially if the experience is negative enough, they could remember that for the rest of their life. And intelligence goes in a lot of different dimensions. But if you oversimplified intelligence, you can think of one's ability to understand time and space. And so a dog could understand time potentially for the rest of its life. But you take a human, for example, and humans are remarkable. Humans are so different. And so maybe to challenge the audience for a second, why are we so different? No other animal comes close to what we can do. We can land rockets backwards. The stuff we do is unbelievable. So why? What's different? What if we gave a dog arms? Would they be able, and opposable thumbs? Could they do what we do? And the answer is no. The reason they can't do what we do goes back to the key part of intelligence. They can't transfer experience. So if I get poked in the eye, not only can I remember that forever, but I can tell all of you. We can tell each other. We can even tell a story in writing that will exist after we're gone. So intelligence through humanity is compounding. It just builds and builds and builds. And so if you think about yourselves, you can't take credit for how intelligent you are. You have to give credit to teachers, mentors, parents, friends, and all the humans that came before you that wrote all of the lessons in the books that you read. And of course, there's lessons that maybe have to be refined and corrected, but a lot of it is quite good. And so now 2 questions to ask. The first question, are you smarter today than when you were a child? And if you are, how much so? Can you quantify that? It feels difficult to quantify. 10 times, 100 times, it feels infinite, right? You're so much wiser than you were as a child. Now the hard question, the second part of that question is, are you smarter today than you were yesterday? And it's uncertain. Actually, the answer can, if I'm going back to betting, often we become dumber with time, especially if we're comfortable. The reason being we have bias, you have something called neural rutting, you become comfortable. We're creatures of habit. So your ability to innovate, your ability to think outside the box is actually potentially reduced if you don't interact with people outside your tribe. And so all of us today, we are interacting with people outside of our tribe. Please be very active in the chat, have internal dialogues with each other while this talk is going. And as I can, I will monitor the chat, and there will be some interactive parts of this talk where I will be forced to look at the chat. But this is how we learn, right? We find people that have different Euclidean distances than us on their experience vectors, and we try to collide and we try to find new ideas. So intelligence, continuing this and really setting the stage for AI. We're not ready for AI yet. We're going to talk about data. So just like you and I have life experience that allows us to make better decisions, a company has data experience. So data is flowing through a company. That is the lifeblood of a company, especially today. And it's interesting, even though data is our experience for a company, and a company is made up of people and process, most companies have 3 fundamental problems. So the three problems that most companies have are processes are stale, knowledge workers leave, and most data is not used for better decisions. That's where AI comes into play. So AI can actually address all of these. So AI can allow processes to evolve in a way that is not reckless, in a way that's responsible. AI can also reduce the amount of knowledge that's walking out the door when your knowledge workers leave, and AI can allow you to improve decisions using data to make better decisions for a business. We're living in a world today where AI does not have any limits on the data types that can be consumed. Before, used to have limits. Do you want to consume images, audio, time series, logs from the network? It was quite intimidating. But now there's no data type that gives any AI professional anxiety when it comes to building pipelines. And now for the security angle with this, your data flowing through a business, that is your experience, that's your moat, that is what makes your business work. And that is also the thing that's under threat when it comes to cybersecurity. That's something you definitely have to protect. So now I want to demonstrate how powerful AI is, and then we'll get into the AI foundation. So now I'm going to look at the chat because I want to challenge the audience. This is a particular project I worked on 7 years ago where I was teaching AI to play Call of Duty on the Xbox. And it was very important that it was a stock Xbox. So I'm tricking this Xbox. It has no idea that it's actually being played by an external supercomputer. And this external supercomputer, it's playing the Xbox by consuming the HDMI right off the Xbox that's going into an HDMI captured card that's being run by the supercomputing node. And then it's outputting the Xbox controls using a gimmicks adapter to go directly back into the stock Xbox. So this is interesting from a security perspective. How would you ever catch if someone was doing that? There's nothing. I haven't modified the Xbox. It's still a stock Xbox. And as far as the Xbox is concerned, there is a human watching and playing it. So from a security perspective, it is kind of a fun example. But now for the question. This is a marketing image that I made that was associated with that stunt. What was the cost? And this is in 2015, 16, I think. So what was the cost of, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I met with a graphic designer at a coffee shop, and I drew a kid on the floor and a line that was a TV and a robot. And I said, I want you to come back with a design where there's a child playing a screen, and on the other side of the screen, there is this AI monster that is digitally trapped that we hope never gets out. And so the question for the audience, and I'll look at the chat now, how long did it take the human designer to design this? How many weeks? And then how much did this cost? Look at the quality of the piece and then come up with your guesses. I'm going to take a look at the chat real quick. Oh, here we go. Great. Oh, this is fantastic. I can have the chat up while I present. Apologize that it wasn't up before. 1 month. Okay, 3 months. You know what's funny about this? The higher the time, the happier the artist will be, because I'll tell them. 1 week. Oh, $100. Wow. So it looks like if I'm trying to estimate averages, it's averaging about a month, 250,000, a few $100. So maybe I overpaid, but I really like this artist. So the answer to this was 1 week, and it was $1,000. And this was the quality that they produce. So now for the next question. Oops. So study this and now ask me what was the time and what was the cost to produce this. And pay attention. This one's a little bit more complicated. There's some 3D effects. So this is another piece that I made. So now I'm going to look for new chats. What was the time for this one and what was the cost? 6 months, $2,500. 3 days, 300. Oh, so someone got it. This is a trick question. Are people okay on audio? Someone said they had a difficult time hearing my voice. I want to make sure other people can hear. Can someone confirm audio is okay? So this was made with Midjourney, which means it was in minutes and it was instant. Okay, so people are saying we can hear you, so it must be specific. Yeah, so what does that mean? I also want people to understand how much this would have cost a year ago. So a year ago, this would have, I understand looking at this piece because I've dealt with Unreal Engine and I've dealt with contractors that can do this quality of work. This is a nightmare to do. So this would not be one person, it would not be a week. This might be a team of people, and it might take several months because of the 3D effects that you're seeing and the quality. And so this, I don't think I could do this for less than 20 or 30,000 historically, assuming I had to engage Unreal Engine developers. So what does that mean when we're moving this quickly? So now the analogy, because I know you're not that interested in art, maybe you are, but we're all interested in code. So look at this code that's being written. And it's not that important for you to get to know, to really comprehend the code completely or to bug check it or anything like that. But looking at this code that is being scanned from beginning to end, how long did this code take to write? And what was the cost? So now new guesses for the code. This is in Python. How long did it take someone to write this code? And what was the cost? 10 minutes is a guess that's showing up. It's a pretty good developer. 5 minutes, 1 month. Okay. So this is different. So this is something different than you've seen. And this is probably the high point for AI. So the code that you're witnessing is actually a generative algorithm, which means that if you attempted to write this code before 6 months ago, the budget would have been impossible, meaning no amount of money could have produced this code. And the timeline would have been indefinite, that no, you can't write this code in a month. You can't write this code in a year. And the reason is what you're looking at is this is a brand new algorithm that was invented that exceeds the knowledge base of the LLM. It exceeds the human knowledge base. So when you think about humans inventing algorithms, we stumble into things. We try this, we try this, we do a PhD, we hit our head against the wall for 5 years. And through grit or sheer luck, we have a little breakthrough. And those little breakthroughs are now automated. There's no reason for a human researcher to go do a PhD amount of effort trying to find an algorithm breakthrough when generative algorithms can find it for you. So now we're going all the way back to tell the AI history. How did we get here? Well, one of the key things to understand is this concept of AI generators. And I like this slide because I see this slide as a warning to all of you that you can't make decisions for what AI does today. You have to imagine what it's going to be doing tomorrow or next year. So Ian Goodfellow, he is the individual that is attributed to inventing the concept of a generator. And rumor is this happened at a bar over drinks. He essentially made a bet that a generator was possible. And this showed up in 2014 as this publication where he was able to teach AI to predict, to produce, to generate, it is a prediction, to generate a fake human face. And that is the black and white image you see on the top. You can see it looks a little off, looks a little weird. The mouth is kind of boxy. And the bottom image is a real human face. And these are GANs, generative adversarial networks. Excuse me. And so now think about yourself. If many of you on this call were alive in 2014, and so I assume you all were. So 2014, if you looked at this, and if you said this will completely disrupt human models, this will completely change advertising. This is going to put the stock photography companies out of business. If you came up with a list of things that are true today, you would have been laughed at, right? No, you'd be laughed at. But no one would think that that was possible. But look at the progression. So 2017, black and white becomes higher resolution, 1080p, it's now color. 2018, when we were doing Zeph, we did this image that went viral. It drove us to #1 in the world on Quora for AI because we were applying genetic algorithms to maximize scan quality. And this keeps going. And then the pivot in 2022 that gets a lot of attention is people realize you don't just have to put in a random vector, because that's what was going into these images. Random vectors were going in, random humans coming out. They realized that you can, just like you can build a model to take an image and produce a text description, you can do the reverse. So this text description, the cutest little Pikachu figurine made of polymer clay, photographed in real grass, bokeh and Nikon D5, produced this image. And people were shocked. Because what does this mean? It means you can If you are a graphic designer, if you're an artist, you can just write whatever you want and you will get a generative output. So I'm going to show you, this is some of the artwork I've done. The approach I take is I have GPT-4 write a very long prompt, and then that goes into Midjourney. But the reason I'm showing you this is I want you, people see Midjourney and DALL-E 3 examples online, and they're not very good. And the reason they're not very good is it's just people kicking the tires. They tried something. For all of you listening, if you go to GPT-4 now, and if you say, hey, I saw this talk today, really crazy stuff, women in stone and what else is going on? Oh, a woman with a lava dress, because why not? And you saw the stuff, why not an antler DJ? And if you explain to GPT-4 that you saw this and you would like it to produce 3 very detailed image descriptions, 6 to 8 sentences, most important details at the beginning, and have all of the camera information at the end that was required to take this incredible photo, now describe these 3 photos, GPT-4 will write out 3 massive, very detailed prompts, and you can just copy those into Midjourney, and you'll get similar behavior, which is super fun. One more, I really like the hyperrealism. So anytime you have powder or dust, you really want to lean into the details, otherwise it'll look cartoony. Yeah, you could honestly, all of you could do this today. But now I'm going to take you on a different journey. That's great. An artist can be an artist. But I can also go to GPT-4 and I can say, describe SpaceX as a creature, and it produces this. I can also say, describe McDonald's as a creature, and it produces this. So some people see this and most people laugh. They think this is funny. What I see is something very different. I see an incredible amount of comprehension, an incredible amount of knowledge. So to help you understand why this image is so profound to me, deep learning systems find topics. So when I build, whether the deep learning systems are simple ResNet classifiers or more complicated LLMs, they're all doing a very similar thing under the hood. They're finding knowledge topics. And so an example of a knowledge topic is with my startup, we were training models on scrapbook photos, trying to predict out of 20 million images trained, which image will end up in a scrapbook. And I remember at the time we were doing some unsupervised clustering of the encoding layers, and we were finding clusters or groups. Think of them as knowledge items within the deep learning neural network. And one of the knowledge items that showed up was this concept of a sleeping baby. So for all the parents on the call, you love your kids, I know, but most of us increase our photo take rate when they're sleeping. That, oh, look at this cute angel, we're going to take a photo. And so it was fascinating because AI could automatically learn that from the data. And what you see here in the McDonald's creature, the knowledge structures or topic clusterings are much more complicated. They're multidimensional, fries for hair, the color spectrum, et cetera. This stuff exists. So, and then I'll go through this quickly. Most of you are familiar with ChatGPT, able to do the code completion. This is really changing the way that people write code. They can write code faster and be more productive, but for the bad players, it can also be an issue that we'll talk about. And then I already showed you this. This is a plot that demonstrates what you're looking at. So when you saw that code example, and I hate custom plots because they're too difficult to explain and understand, but I'll try to explain what you're looking at. So every bar is an algorithm. Every bar that is red is an algorithm that was invented by a human. Every bar that is not red is an algorithm that was generated from an LLM to compete against a human algorithm. The shorter the bar, the more competitive the algorithm. And the interesting thing is, to the right, there's nothing stopping this process. So if you wanted this bar chart to keep going, where shorter is better, more performant, if you want it to go a mile to the right, it's only compute limited. So what that means, I believe what that means is in the next 3 years, every algorithm that matters will be rewritten by AI. This is everything. Everything across the board, up and down the stack, will be rewritten because AI is much more qualified at writing high performance code specific to device, that it achieves better quality, better performance, better benchmarks, etc. Yeah, so this is kind of that visual. We expect this to happen across every algorithm category and to go up and down the stack. Exciting times, right? So one more benchmark for AI, and then we're going to lean more into the cybersecurity. So this is interesting. This is a very famous photo. Why is this funny? So the humans here, the human mind is a miracle. It really is. So all of us quickly know why this is funny. This individual's on the scale. They're not aware that the President Obama is putting his foot on the scale to make them heavier. AI just doesn't understand why this is funny. And there's a famous blog post in 2012 where Kay Parthy, who ran AI for Tesla, wrote about this blog and showed this image and used this image as an example to explain that we are so far away from AI that can comprehend within the realm of computer vision. Because in 2012, the computer vision systems were extremely disappointing. It could tell you that we're people. It might be able to tell you that it's in a building, but it was so far away from being able to understand the scene. And it's interesting because if you put this image into GPT-4, and if you ask, please explain the root or key reason why this is funny, what started it all? What is the simple 1 to 3 sentence that explains why people started laughing? GPT-4 will get it wrong. But with generative algorithms, it will get it right. And the reason I bring this up is really urging all of you, you can't make decisions for what you see today. Because if you saw this and you thought, oh, good, I can wait a little bit, you don't realize that this is coming online in the background. These new technologies are just moving faster. Here's another one where GPT-4 fails to link this, but generative algorithms, they can handle this quite well. Let's see. Oh, yes. AI in the wrong hands. Now we're talking more about security. Great. So AI can be a little overwhelming. It can be intimidating, and people want to slow it down. And there's people have asked for a letter to pause things in the past. A lot of regulators are talking about how do we regulate this? How do we make sure that we don't have the singularity or breakout or a massive negative impact to society? So people are talking about this, but the AI is just another tool. So humans have had tools for tens, if not hundreds of thousands of years. We've had tools. And if you think about a knife is incredibly valuable. It can protect you. You can make a coat, you could skin a deer, you could do all sorts of things with a knife. A knife is a value add to you and your family. But a knife in the wrong hands can do harm. It can do evil. And AI is just the world's most powerful knife. So it can do incredible things. It can take mundane work away. It can save lives. It can do things in healthcare that will save many lives. Many of you will live longer on this call because of AI. And that is why we can't slow down. But now let's talk about AI in the wrong hands. So I was going through just kind of a historical history of security, and it's kind of funny to think about the 1988 Morris worm and how it brought down 10% of the internet, and it was a 99-line program. This kind of brings up this theme of unintended consequences or unexpected threats. So if you're proactive and you're anticipating potential threats and exploits, you can definitely get ahead of it. And that's why you have black hats, gray hats, and white hats. That's why you have the gray and white hats working together, trying to find zero-day exploits before the bad guys. The other one that's important to think about is, remember, Stuxnet is often used as kind of the hallmark of an incredible feat that was accomplished by most likely, I haven't followed up on it, but I'm sure it's been attributed to one or several governments that pulled this off. And there's a theme here to think about. You have hobbyist, you have company, and then you have a state entity. And one of the things that is happening with technology is something like Stuxnet, something that would require a state, meaning significant funding, a massive army of hackers and developers, that becomes accelerated where it begins to reach a hobbyist level. So a hobbyist, meaning a single individual, potentially can generate something like Stuxnet using AI. This is one that I'm trying to think how I should phrase this. So in 2015, I don't know if many of you remember the Ashley Madison hack. So it was dumped on the internet, and there was a lot of excitement about this. This is a 32 gigabyte data set that's on the internet. And I had a friend who downloaded the data set from the dark web. And this particular friend wanted to do the analysis, but they were too worried about posting it under their public name. And so they posted it under a fake account. And that fake account was mentioned here by USA Today. So you can see they had to correct it, that this individual that did this analysis isn't actually real. And I bring this up because this particular example of a fake person being in USA Today in the news because they did some analysis, there's this other side of security that we have to talk about is how do you know what's real? So you have deep fakes. Here's a podcast interview I was on with deepfakes with Intel in 2019, showing off some of our latest research around detecting deepfakes. And what we were doing is we were taking some research from MIT where they demonstrated that for people that have fair colored skin, if there are the oscillations that you have just from the blood flow in your face cannot be detected by a human, but they can be detected within the digital bits, the color variation in a color camera, and you can therefore determine if a face has blood flow. And so we demonstrated this as an example of how you could use this to detect if something was a deep fake. So AI would not have anticipated blood flow to deep fake video. And so we would expect that a real video would have blood flow in the face and a fake video would not. The other thing I'll bring up before I make my key point is ChatGPT showed up, and GPT-0 immediately showed up in the news as a way to detect or combat this ChatGPT, because so many people were using it in work, so many people were using it in school, and people saw that as cheating. So the question I have for the audience, and I really appreciate the audience feedback, this is great, or the interaction. The question I have for the audience, how long will these protect us? How long will blood flow protect us from deepfakes, and how long will GPT-0 protect us from synthetic writing or synthetic code? Any estimates? Maybe I'm giving away the answer with how I'm asking the question. It is just a matter of time. So it's a cat and mouse game, right? So, and this is really important because you're going to see a lot of this, and we have seen a lot of this. You see a lot of people that celebrate, oh, this is so good that we have this thing, that we have this detector. This is so good that we have this safety. But you have to remember how these systems learn. These systems learn by comparing themselves to a detector. So the moment you have a better detector, you get a better AI. And the moment you get a better detector, you get a better AI. And so there's actually no way that you can stop any of this. There's no way you can detect any of it. And so this goes back to kind of a core tenet within security. And before I mention this core tenet, I want to talk about how good deepfakes are today. So if you think about deepfakes, there's a classic movie, and this will date myself, Robert Redford, Sneakers. During that movie, they have to trick an individual to say, my voice is my password. And it's kind of entertaining during the video. They have a cassette recorder, and they're trying to trick this individual into saying that. They eventually get it. They do the edit, and now they can get through this very advanced security voice key that they can break into the system. And your voice being your password for banking is laughable. So now a hobbyist, going back from, is this state actor? Is this a group of actors or a company, or is this a hobbyist? Today, a hobbyist can record you for a few minutes and they can produce your voice saying anything they want you to say in a way that would get past any of these detectors. The other thing too with deep fakes is it's I think it's now within the realm of a hobbyist where they can do a live video interaction with a deep fake. So you might think it's me, you might think it's Jepson Taylor, but I could actually be someone else right now in this whole video, everything being animated. It's not me. I'm doing a deep fake right now. That deep fake, not only with the video, but with the voice. And so this comes back full circle to, well, how on earth can we save ourselves? And there is fraud happening today, social engineering, where someone will pretend to be a CEO calling a CFO demanding a wire transfer, and the voice is right. Potentially the video could be right. So you probably need to do it because this all seems legit. And so this comes back finally full circle to the key point is in security, we talk about what you have and what you know. So your voice and your face and all of that, that's what you have. That is not enough. So you definitely have to begin thinking about what do you know? And if someone's calling or trying to come in through some social engineering hack, you need to educate your employees to talk about how we're living in a different world. And then Worm GPT. So going back to tools, ChatGPT shows up. It's a fantastic knife. It can do code generation. And if it can do that, then that means that people in the dark web can also do fine tuning on these models to get around the safeties, and they can use it to write malicious code. And now the analogy is you have, and the talk's going to wrap up and we're going to go to Q&A. So the analogy here is just like I showed that you can use generative algorithms to find better and better algorithms that can compete against humans. You can now use something like Worm GPT to find zero-day exploits. So zero-day exploits showing up here and there with the team, thinking hard and working through it. You can imagine an increase in the next 2 years of zero-day exploits that are found using these types of systems. Oh, good. That is the final slide. So this is me. This is my contact information. I think we're going to Q&A now. I want to make sure that I answer as many questions as you have. I'm an AI optimist. I think there's a lot of good that will come from this, but ultimately the final point to leave with the audience is we will be fine if you trust the fastest jockey. So if the good guys are running faster than the bad guys, then you could find zero-day exploits, you can send out emergency patches. And so there's a lot of motivation on how to enable the white hats and the gray hats to leverage these technologies to go really, really fast. But on the flip side, if you think you can sit on your hands and wait a few more years and not think about how the world will be changing with generative AI and security, I think you're going to be surprised. And hopefully hopefully you will benefit from someone else's technology being incorporated if you're not thinking this way. So I'm going to start reacting to questions as they come in. So this question here is, what biometric mechanism am I going to adopt to protect my image from being mimicking? Unfortunately, I don't think there's anything you can do for a biometric mechanism. My recommendation is to have a concept that is something you know. So if you and I are working together, if we're friends, and if I call you with an emergency wire transfer, we might have something that we've discussed over beers where you would say, that's great, but answer this question. And if we don't have that question in any form of digital writing, then you would know whether or not it's me. So going back to something how can we stop this dangerous deepfake areas like images and voice? So we can't. And this is important. So if people wasting resources into trying to detect fakes, it's a waste of time. So Meta had a deepfake detector challenge, other companies have, and it's a waste of time. So it's very important that we just fast forward to the end. So if you fast forward to the end, there's no detectors. You can't detect it. One thing you can do that people have talked about is you can do blockchain. So you can verify images using a blockchain system where it doesn't matter if I'm sending something that's better than real. If it's not verified through the blockchain, then you can't trust it. And I think it is very important for us to live our lives where we anticipate the end. So don't get stuck on these detectors. It's a fool's errand, in my opinion. Like a secret code where people close to us. Yes. Yeah. Having a secret code, having something it's not difficult to come up with lots of secret things or codes that you could discuss that, as long as they're not in a digital form, email, etc., then that would be a very safe way. But also the thing to think about is you should be sensitive to any type of anomaly. So me calling you on Tuesday, demanding a wire transfer, and actually this reminds me, I didn't share with the audience, but my first interest in security showed up where I started an e-commerce company in 2003, and I was hosting, I love bringing this example up because for the security folks, you're going to cringe. I was hosting an FTP web and my SQL server in my apartment on a laptop. And I had credit cards. This is like a production system. I had credit cards unencrypted coming in through an e-commerce checkout into the system. And I like to joke that it was 2003, so it's okay. Obviously today, like in 2003, that's a huge liability to have all these unencrypted credit cards. But the issue is I saw in the logs that there were just these bots and worms constantly trying to get into the FTP servers, trying to hack these systems. And going back to an anomaly detection, I remember once we had a few stolen credit cards show up on the e-commerce site. And I remember one day seeing an order for $2,000. I think it was going to Malaysia. And it was a massive order with one item. And initially there was a lot of excitement where I thought, oh, wow, this is fantastic. I'm going to make a lot of money from this order. But this is strange. Why is someone ordering so much of one item and it's not a popular item? And they're paying for like rush shipping and different things like that. And so this example is, it's an anomaly. This is strange. And so one of the things that you should all be thinking about is anytime an anomaly shows up, me calling you angry Tuesday at 9, desperately needing a wire transfer, this is weird. This is not something that's happened before. And so that's something that we always have to kind of increase the bar on our detection on anomaly, kind of our beast detectors. So now I'm going to jump into the questions. We're going to do rapid fire. With the amount of advancement we are seeing in AI, is it really possible or feasible to control the deepfake images and videos? It is not possible. And even any investment in that is a fool's errand. Will you say that for anyone who seeks to craft a career in AI security, such as an individual should have to learn how to build AI? So with building AI, the thing that is so exciting with building AI today is before you need to learn AI systems, programming, all these different things, but now it's really having a conversation. So right now we could go to ChatGPT and say, write me an AI system that will analyze Wireshark logs and build a detector, and it will do that just fine. So writing the Python code or the AI code is something that is becoming much easier. So I don't think you have to really, it's becoming much easier to use AI than it's been in the past. Can you elaborate how blockchain can add better authentication in deepfake? I'm not a blockchain expert, but I think if you hash the image, produce like an MD5 hash, or people could explain this on this call better than I could. And please have someone explain the answer to this question, how blockchain could be used to authenticate deepfakes. As long as you have like a community ledger, there's no way for me to inject a fake image of you because you can essentially validate the source. So think of a blockchain where you have users and inputs that are putting source in. So if I put an image of myself in, you can validate the source, you know it's real. But if you put an image of me in, it wouldn't be authenticated in that network. And please have other people chime in and answer this question better than I did. How would you advise that one go about staying ahead with this AI and ChatGPT development? So I recommend you use it every day. Think of it as it's a muscle you have to flex, and prompt intelligence or prompt engineering will be what differentiates people in the future. So for example, I heard about a non-technical person recently told me that they got a promotion using GPT-4. And this individual explained to me that GPT-4 told them how to navigate the interview, how to prepare for the interview, and what to propose during the interview. And when they got feedback on getting the job, the feedback coming back from getting the job was attributing all of the stuff that GPT-4 told them to do during the interview. And so your prompt intelligence is going to drastically change your personal competitiveness, whether it's getting promotions, getting jobs, or being competitive in the market. What industries are most vulnerable to negative consequences of deepfake manipulation, and how can they mitigate these risks? Most vulnerable. I think every industry is vulnerable when it comes to like wire fraud. People talk about deepfake with politics, like, oh no, someone can push a deepfake of this politician saying something terrible. That doesn't seem as big of a risk or concern to me because those can be invalidated. Maybe in social media that could be bad because it could polarize people more. I'm more concerned about wire fraud. And for the organizers, feel free to interrupt me. I'm going to keep going through these questions, but I also don't want to get us off schedule. And for questions that we don't get to, you have my personal information. Oh, that email will not be valid soon. Ben@jepsontaylor.com is a better way to get a hold of me. Oh, someone still can't hear you. Unfortunately, yep. Perfect. Can we use one AI to work as an anti-AI system for bad AI developed or used by hackers? That is a great question. So if you have an AI that is looking for, well, actually, I'm going to put my foot in my mouth now. Going back to the detection, you can't have AI that is detecting code that's been written by AI, but you can have AI that is monitoring and looking for malicious code. So think of like a rootkit. I could have AI that is constantly scanning for changes for rootkits. It's incentivized to find these things. That definitely could work well. Similar to data governance, what are the key considerations for AI governance and control? So that one of the key considerations is AI has often been attached to heroics. One smart person does something for your company, that's great. They leave, it's a disaster. You really want to leverage tuition. And so tuition shows up by partnering with companies or groups that have experienced a lot more failure modes. So AI systems break. They like to say every model is wrong, but some models are useful. You have feature drift excursions in the wild where things can change in your data and make models behave irregularly. There are tools that are not in the open source community, tools like Dataiku, DataRobot, Alteryx, Domino, where they are built up to handle that. A big thing of being successful with AI is being proactive. You don't want to be reactive. Any suggestion on how ISO regulators should think to keep cyberspace safe? So ISO regulators should be embracing generative AI, and they should have teams or groups within governments or companies that can afford it that are aggressively trying to build what you're the most scared of, build something that can find an exploit, find a vulnerability, or really you're trying to outpace the bad guys. So ISO regulators need to be swimming in generative AI, in my opinion. Regulators can often struggle to change in a timely manner. Okay, Gen AI knowledge is critical to keep up with the trend and avoid being scammed. Yes, absolutely. That's why I encourage everyone on this call to use this daily and to join groups that can help you stay up to speed. There are a few groups that have showed up with deep fake detectors. I think Meta announced one, but I've said several times in this call, it's a fool's errand. Can we use AI to better implement ISO 27001 or correct any issue in the implementation? I think that's great. I think you can use AI to audit systems. The analogy there is I can have AI go through all of my data science code and to make it pilot compliant and to make sure it's updated and to write unit tests. It'll do that in an automated fashion today, where data scientists struggled to do that in the past. And so that's a very powerful tool. And so if I can do that, there's no reason why you can't accelerate some of the ISO compliance checks. AI needs to trust, but security is zero trust. How to mitigate this? Zero trust. I I'd be curious if someone else can begin discussing this final question. Humane AI are set to change user experience. I'm much more worried about just the fundamental security, like getting access to servers, network, etc. Um, Something that's maybe a tangent to this is you do have one of the big concerns is around social hacking because AI can manipulate, it can complement, and so AI's ability to manipulate us and to make us feel comfortable and to allow more social engineering exploits to happen. That's definitely something that's a concern. Maybe if one of the organizers could just comment, I want to make sure that we're not going over. We can keep going on question and answer as long as people are engaging.
Jepson, we do have around 2 minutes left. Maybe we can
Oh,
take one
perfect.
more questions.
Okay. Now AI is being used in military areas, so it's going to be more dangerous. What is your thought there? So for some people that talk about AI ethics, they're you have different camps. You have people that are worried about the AI singularity. You have people that aren't worried about the AI singularity. Going back to AI being used for military, people are very concerned about AI being involved in a decision that could take a human life without a human in the middle. So you wouldn't want AI involved with a nuclear war decision or even a kill decision. Think of like autonomous drones flying around shooting people, because something like that could you could have a bad experience. You could have something where it does much worse than the enemy combatants. And so the other thing that's related to autonomous war is people are definitely doing this. Like there are drones with guns, there are drones that can carry C4, there are drones that have AI chips, but the argument is to not make them autonomous. Um, but I could understand why people would do that. Um, so that's a very negative side of AI, unfortunately. I hope we don't see autonomous war, and an autonomous war does not also mean we have a singularity coming. I'll do one last question, and then we'll be done. Can AI do discrimination based on gender, race, caste, religion, region, country, etc.? If so, how to prevent that? Yes. So there are already some terrible, terrible stories. If you search AI genocide, you will see that there are countries that are already using AI to detect certain races and to target them, unfortunately. So yes, AI can predict race, gender, age, country of origin. I have a demo I didn't show in this slide that I can predict country of origin. I think that's it. I think that's a wrap. Thanks everyone for being so active in the chat. That always makes these talks much more fun. Really appreciate everyone's participation.
Thank you so much, Jepson. That was such an insightful presentation. For those of you who have your questions left out, you can always leave it on our group, and we will catch back to that. You can catch up with our speaker as well, and he will be happy to answer. So yes, thank you so much again, Jepson. That was such a fun session. Hopefully, we'll have another session with you again. Right now, do you have any ending statement to put before I go ahead here?
I think the ending statement is this is all good. And I hope I didn't show anything that makes people too upset or alarmed, that ultimately this is a very good thing for society. But we have to be proactive when it comes to security. And for any security professional on this site, I encourage you to use GPT-4 generative AI technologies on a regular basis and begin thinking about this, because it's something you want to get ahead of. But I wanted to end with I'm an optimist, that this is good. To push back on anything I've said that might sound all bad.
I'm pretty sure it's all very good and also captivating. So yeah, we will move on ahead here with our gamification session. Thank you again, Jepson. We'll catch up again. For everyone who is here, please do join our session. We will leave the link on the chat box, the gamification link. You can click on there and you will be seeing a page which allows you to sign up. So here you can go on and sign up. Please do not log in. Just click on sign up, and once you click on sign up, you will see the boxes to enter your details, the first name, last name, email, and your session ID. The session ID for today is 1543. So for the email, if you are facing any issues on entering your email, you can enter any dummy emails. If you win the session, then we will be leaving our emails for you to contact us, so you can do that as well. So if you are facing any issue with the email, just enter any dummy email. Please remember that the session ID is 1543. Unless you enter the correct ID, the session ID, you won't be able to enter the dashboard. So please enter the correct ID 1543. If you see that user already exists, you can enter some other dummy emails as I informed. So you can try using the dummy email. Once you enter the game session, the dashboard, you will see the game SOC, which means the stack of coins. So that would be the game that we are playing. A little about the game. It will be a total of 10 questions, and it will be on an MCQ type questions. So you can select your answers accordingly. The questions will be listed out one by one, and you will have the 4 options to answer. Accordingly, you will gain points. So if you enter first, you will gain 100 coins. For the second, you will gain 50, and for the third trial, you will get 25 points. There is no points for the fourth trial. So do take your time and answer. We will have a 2-minute round for round for this game. Yes, please click on the link that is provided on the chat box. In Tier Live, you can provide the link again. You can just keep on putting the link over and over so that our participants can see the link. Yes. So link is on the chat box. You can click on there and please enter your details. Do sign up. Do not log in. Just sign up. And for any problem with the email, you can enter your dummy emails. So I'll just share my screen here where you can see basically you will be able to see the admin board, the dashboard, through which you will be able to see all the participants who are entering into the game. And once we start the game, you will be able to see the points, whoever are playing, and the points of the players as well. All right. We'll wait another minute for this, for all the participants to join. I see we have a lot of participants right now. We'll just give it another minute and then we'll begin the game. If you do not, if you're having any issue with joining the game, do let us know and we will have that figured out for you. Please use your real name for the name of your gaming session so that we can recognize you. All right. If you look to my screen, you will be able to see all the participants that have joined for the game. And we will begin in few seconds. Please log in, please sign up soon so that we can begin. All right, I will start the game in few seconds. All right, so we'll be starting the game now in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I have started the quiz. You can see your screen for the questions. All the questions are in MCQ type. If you answer right on the first trial, you get 100 points. For the second try, you get 50. And for the third try, you get 25 points. There is no points for the fourth trial. You can go ahead and enter all your questions. Everything is provided. We will do this for 2 minutes. Whoever wins, that is the top winner, whoever wins, they will be receiving a $400 worth certificate from GSDC. So please do read the questions properly and do answer on time. We have around 1.5 minutes left. If you want to check the score, you can check the scoreboard on my screen. Sorry to those who could not join the game. You can join again on the next session. You can leave an email to us about the error that you have faced, maybe a screenshot if you have, and we will figure that out for you. So yeah, if you were unable to join the game, you will be getting the chance again for the next on the next session. We have around 1 minute left, so maybe you can, if you are still on question 2 or 3, you would have to hurry up. There are a total of 10 questions here. If you are unable to sign up for this game, we apologize for that. Maybe some backend problem happened, maybe some network issue happened. We will figure it out together, and you can join again on the next session. We will be having our next session again on 27th of November. All right, we have around 30 seconds left. I see that everyone is still playing. We have around 30 seconds left. Please hurry up so that you can complete all the questions. There are a total of 10 questions. If you are still on around less than 5 questions, then do hurry up on answering the questions. Okay, so I will do the countdown. We have around 10 seconds left here. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So that's it for this quiz. Thank you so much, everyone, for playing. And you can see here all the winners. I see Mr. Jivesh is the top winner. Congratulations to you, Jivesh. You will be receiving a $400 word certificate from GSDC. Please do contact us. We will leave our email on the chat box. As for the second and third winner, Abhishek and Swati, congratulations to both as well. I see that Abhishek has 775 same points. However, the winner goes to Jivesh because of the time that he has completed at. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining. Can I request the 3 winners to switch on your camera and let us know, let us see your faces, and maybe you can share your experience with us as well. I see Jivesh, maybe you can share your experience on this. And Abhishek is also there. Can we have your opinions? Maybe a short line. Hi, Abhishek. Are you able
Yeah,
to unmute
sure.
yourself? Yeah.
Yeah,
How was the experience for you?
great session. And I think this is a new topic that all of us are learning. And thanks, Jepson, for introducing this
Mm.
topic and how Gen AI can be applied to cybersecurity. So thanks for the session.
Thank you so much for
Thank
joining,
you.
Abhishek. Thank you. All right, so thank you so much, everyone. That's it for the game. We will be publishing our winners on our Wall of Fame soon, very soon. You can catch it on our social media. So thank you again so much for joining. Just before you leave, let me let you know, announce about the next sessions that we will be having. So next session will be on 27th of November, and we will be having 2 amazing speakers during that time, who are from EY, Kensi Lee and Daniel Charisma, and they will be speaking on the topic of HR and L&D with Gen AI. So do look forward to it. If I'm sure many of you haven't received your joining link, that's because we will be sending you the joining link on the day of the event, that is on 27th November. So don't worry if you have already registered. Don't worry, we will send you the link. And if you haven't registered yet, please do go to our webpage and please do go to our webpage and register yourself. You can also share with your colleagues, whoever could not join today. For those who could not join the session today, we will be publishing the recording on our YouTube channel. You can check it out there as well. And again, thank you so much for joining. We will love to connect with you on our group as well. You can join the group to discuss more about the session, and you can visit our website for more details on the GSDC certificate. Also, I humble request to all to kindly share your takeaways and learning outcomes on our Trustpilot link. So the links are all shared on the chat box. You can scan the QR here to go to our website. And yes, thank you so much again. We'll see you again. I hope everyone have a very good day, evening, wherever you are. And yes, we'll catch up again. Have a great day.
Over 100,000 professionals across EMEA, LATAM, APAC, and North America regions. We offer certification in learning and development, human resources, quality assurance, ISO and Six Sigma, emerging technologies, DevOps, SRE, Agile and Scrum, project management. GSDC is proudly accredited with ANSI and ABICB. We have global presence with offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore, and a strong network of over 50 global accredited training organizations.
But how do these certifications contribute to your career growth? GSDC certifications are globally recognized and trusted by many multinational organizations. Our certifications validate your skills and demonstrate your commitment to professional development. GSDC is collaborating with 500 plus SMEs, advisors, and global experts to curate and share best practices with individuals. We validate those skills via experts' curated certification exams. Additionally to that, we also regularly conduct webinars, knowledge sharing sessions, and various complementary learning initiatives to keep learners updated on the best practices and fortify their knowledge. By validating skills, GSDC is addressing the challenges faced by professionals in today's competitive landscape. We bridge the gap between theoretical knowledge and practical expertise, ensuring that individuals are equipped to succeed in their chosen fields. Visit our website to know more about GSDC.
Welcome to the